Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I'm gonna talk a bit about estimations and why seemingly we're always getting them wrong and why a lot of times we're delivering projects a bit late. I'm not gonna spend time to talk to you how to do estimations, what the process is, what you can do and what you shouldn't do. I'm gonna share with you my experience on it, so let's go. So obviously there are a lot of reasons why we are underestimating when we are given the task to say how long is it gonna take to do X, and there are a lot of different reasons why projects are late, but I think that a lot of the time things boil down to two things, and it is overconfidence in our abilities, sometimes even arrogance in terms of, yes, I can do this, I'm definitely gonna do this in the X amount of time, and a lot of times it's we're just not planning for things to go wrong. Now, the more important question is, what can we do about it? And I'm gonna start with actually demanding the time that is required in order for you to give a proper estimation. It is not always easy to say how long it's gonna take. We're sometimes not estimating simple tasks, but we're estimating whole projects. And believe it or not, I've actually refused to give estimations to clients sometimes if I feel they're wasting my time. They're just like, okay, how much is gonna cost? Dude, for me, in order to tell you how much something's gonna cost, I have to spend maybe a day or two, sometimes three, sometimes even more, in order to be able to break down this whole thing and give you a rough estimation even. So if you're, by the way, on that side that is requesting estimations, pay for that. Just pay for that, or be prepared to pay for it, or don't ask for it. Like, to do an estimation, time is required. If you're doing something that is important in terms of project, it is something bigger for the company or for you, take your time, do the estimation correctly. And I'm also gonna say, write your homework properly. Do your due diligence. Like, identify which parts of the project or the body of work you don't feel comfortable about. Trust your gut feeling. Find what makes you feel nervous. Find the key things that if they go wrong, this whole entire thing is gonna go down the drain. And then do your due diligence. Am I gonna be using an API? Do I have the fields that I need in the API? Are there any throttling requirements? Do I have requests per day? Am I gonna be doing more of them? What am I gonna do about it? So, for example, recently I made a project that I underestimated quite seriously, but okay, it's a fun project for me. I can do that maybe, because it's not literal money out of my pocket. But for example, I was using the Twitch API and the YouTube API. They both seemingly were providing the information that I needed, but the moment I started implementing, I had a couple of fields missing, I had a couple of endpoints missing, and they had daily limits that were not quite enough for me. Have I done my homework properly? I actually did part of it properly. I went there, I spent hours of looking at the documentation, checking out certain things and certain aspects. Have I spent the time to actually find out what the deal breakers are? Not really, so I had to find my way around that, but it was maybe another week on top of the work that I have planned. So do your homework properly. And when I say that, I really do mean that, because sometimes, as I said, we're overly confident that we can do some kind of work with the knowledge that we have, the libraries that we're used to, in a certain amount of time. But I'm gonna give you another example. Last year, we worked on a project where we decided we were gonna use TypeORM because we were gonna be using multiple schemas in Postgres. And it seemed like it's supported, well supported. So we did some initial testing even. So we spent half a day prototyping stuff. It seemed working. And the moment that we went in production, turns out it's not really working. And we have to find a way around this. Not a cool moment, right? So theoretically, this was, again, even maybe more than a week added on top of something that we already thought was production ready, because in testing it worked, but the moment you put it in production, you realize that it's an undocumented feature and the way we're using it is not always reliable. So that's that. And now talking about being overly confident and sometimes outright arrogant about, yes, I can do this in 10 hours. The way we can work around this, because it's inevitable. If you've been in the business for 5, 10, 15 years, in certain situations, you're going to be, of course I can do this. And you may be right. You're probably right. If you've been around and you're saying I can do this for 10 hours, most likely you can do it in 8. But do you really always get the 10 hours as a solid block, a chunk of time that you can just sit and work without any distractions. If you are in the position where you've been around for so long, you are certainly also being part of other decisions. You are being dragged into meetings. There are a lot of people probably relying on you to help them with what they are doing, or you just have to jump sometimes and fix something in the moment, and the body of uninterrupted hours of work that you can do, that you can put in, is just not there. It's just not there. So when you say, yes, of course I can do this for 10 hours, is it 10 hours normal working day schedule, or is it the ideal 10 hours where no one in the world is poking me for something, my phone is not ringing, and I can just focus on what I'm doing? What we can do about this is call each other out. Like, if you're in a meeting with other people estimating, and someone says, of course I can do this in 10 hours, just challenge them. Don't be scared, challenge them. Like, okay, you can do it in 10 hours of what you currently have in the office with another 30 people relying on you, or you can do it if you're in your basement alone for 10 hours, because these are two entirely different things. And the last two I'm gonna combine together. And first one is, have you spoken to everyone who has a say in this and can actually drop in a requirement that you have missed? If you haven't, think twice. If you have, think twice again. Think again. Is there someone, a decision maker somewhere, or someone that's going to be using the software within your organization that can actually come up with a requirement that is going to add more time to what you're doing right now? And I'm combining it with the other question. Are you planning for having something that's working on the local machine of a developer, or you're actually planning for a production-ready software that is somewhere running on a server and everyone can access it and it's like considered live? Because I've done this before. I did a software platform, like an online thing, a website, and I knew that it had to be indexed in Google correctly. And I launched and I was like, oh, I need sitemaps. No problem, I'm gonna do it. And when I share the links in Facebook, yeah, I kind of knew it. I gotta keep the meta information there, but I cannot really render it because I'm a single page application. Okay, how am I gonna expose the front-end container to the back-end container so that it can generate the proper tags? Yeah, another 2 days on that. And ask yourself this: are you planning for something that's working and it has a functionality? Or you're planning for production-ready software working somewhere with continuous integration, production databases, credentials, security, whatever you need in order for it to be running correctly. And I'm dropping in an extra one. When you're doing estimation sessions, when you're doing planning sessions, try to include everyone equally. I do understand that people with more seniority are gonna overtake the conversation, but at some point in time, first of all, other people, the juniors, they're also gonna participate in writing the code, so they gotta be aware what should be done, and they may have input. They may be, this is kind of maybe too difficult. And yes, you're gonna have to waste a bit of time to explain to them why is it not difficult, but believe me, there have been situations where I had planning sessions with junior members of the team, and every now and then they come up with a question that actually gets me thinking, like, okay, the thing that you're asking maybe is not super relevant, but you're making me think of a different scenario which I have not covered in my mind. And honestly, I had a lot of experiences where questions asked by junior members have made me rethink estimations and find complexity that for some reason my ignorant mind excluded when I was initially coming up with estimation. And despite everything I said so far, you wouldn't mind me saying that when you're doing estimations, the main thing is just do them properly. You know the drill. It is not that difficult. Yeah, it is super difficult, but it's not that difficult if you follow protocol, let's say. Do not ignore them, spend time and energy on them, and you're gonna be rewarded. Thank you very much for watching. If you have something to add, please do it in the comments below. I'll be happy to be part of the conversation. See you next time.